Cat to Paul for the locker room here. We're going to be doing a season preview of the Boston Bruins, going over the team and how I think ultimately they will fare in the upcoming season. Now, last year they had a tremendous year. It was historic for the Bruins franchise, one of the best regular seasons of all time. But before I get into the season breakdown, or I should say preview, I'd appreciate if you drop that like button, comment down below, and subscribe. We're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers. When we do, we'll be doing a gift card giveaway, and to enter that, you got to be subscribed and hit the notification bell as well. When I look at the Boston Bruins, I look at a team that is in a complete transition period. David Krejci is gone. The Hall of Famer Patrice Bergeron is gone. And they have few good players left. I would actually also have to note that Taylor Hall was traded. There is a lot of turnover on this roster. Will they be able to replicate what they did last season or be at least competitive in some degree? I think they can be competitive. I think this team has a lot of good pieces to it, but let's get right into the roster of the Bruins, and I'll kind of give you my thoughts from there. Now, looking at this Boston Bruins roster, they have $429,000 in cap space. If they're going to want to make any type of move, any type of addition, they're going to have to trade somebody, kind of open it up. But looking into the depth chart of the Boston Bruins right here, Brad Marchand is still there. You got David Pastrnak, who they just paid $11.25 million. He's here until 2031. They have Pavel Zacha, who flourished last year in a Bruins uniform. Jake DeBrusk looked tremendous as well. Looked like he was finally hitting that stride that a lot of us expected for a long time. There's talent on this roster. There really is. But the question marks are down the middle. And Pavel Zacha, while he is a center, played center. He played some wing last year as well. Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha, will they be able to be a good 1-2 punch down the middle? And with some additions of Morgan Geekie, acquiring him and then bringing in Patrick Brown, those guys are kind of slotted where they should be. Morgan Geekie, maybe you can get a bit more out of him. I think he's more just of a third line center at best situation. Patrick Brown is perfect in that fourth line role. They're probably hoping that Beecher, the guy they drafted in the first round a couple seasons ago at this point, hopefully pans out and can challenge for that spot, but it's most likely going to be Brown's job to lose. I do worry about these centers. Pavel Zacha, well, massively improved from his time in New Jersey. It looked like he flourished in the Bruins system. Montgomery brought the best out of his game, and I saw when Zacha decided to shoot the puck, he has a fantastic release, but his face-offs can be a little bit left to desire for. And Charlie Coyle, he's paid $5.25 million. So you're expecting, okay, he should be a competitive option. He should be able to be at very least a good second-line center, but he just has proven over the years that that third-line slot for him is perfect. He's a big physical player, has like a lot of good size, good puck possession skills, but he's not going to wow you offensively. Do I think he's a solid playmaker? Yes, to a degree. Not much of a finisher, in my opinion, can struggle to kind of bury the puck. Could it work with Marchand and Pastrnak? Can you plug and play an average NHL center and make them better? Yes, you can. I think I'm not sure what they're going to do. Pavel Zacha and Pastrnak had some good chemistry, so I could kind of see it being flipped around. But let's just go with the hypothetical of Charlie Coyle with Marchand and Pastrnak. Having a good puck possession center with a couple skilled wingers, Marchand's shiftiness, Pasternak's lethal shot, could be a very good match. I just kind of worry that while he'll probably have a career high in points this year, he'll have to have one. Is he good enough to make them an elite line? I just don't think so. I think that line will be hindered by the lack of a true number one center. And then when you go down the lineup, I don't really agree with this cat friendly, by the way, how they have the line set up. They have like Trent Frederick in the second line, and God, I hope that's not the case. But they have Frederick, Zacha, and DeBrusk. Let's just talk about Zacha and DeBrusk. Zacha proved when he's put in the proper system, he can succeed. He's a very good player. He has a lot of skill to his game. I I was actually kind of surprised how good of a shot he had as well. And he had good, some pretty good playmaking ability. And Jake DeBrusk, he's going to be the X factor for that second line. Can he take that line and make it produce? DeBrusk has been maligned in his time with the Bruins. Went under Cassidy, he was constantly in the doghouse. Bruins fans wanted to get rid of him at one point. And to be quite frank, he's on the last year of his deal. He signed that bridge deal. He's going to be motivated in every sense so he can set up himself a nice paycheck. So that being said, I think DeBrusk is the X factor on that and will hopefully provide the much needed offense. Now, do I think Trent Frederick is going to be on that second line? Absolutely not. That's going to be probably JVR or someone like that, kind of going up and down. And that's not to knock Frederick, but I think Frederick at best is a third liner. Looking at the, Morgan Geekie, Jacob Lauko. Morgan Geekie, I liked what I saw from him in Seattle. I think there's a little bit more offensively. I'm not saying a ton, but I think there's more with him with the potential. Jacob Lauko impressed me a lot last season. His hustle, the gritty style he plays. Do I think he'll ever be a number one, a line one winger? I'm not sure. There's some flashes there. At the very least, he'll be a very good middle six guy. He's got a good motor, good skating, and I think there's just a bit more there offensively. He impressed me quite a bit, but is that too much to ask from a 23-year-old to just come in and be a top six guy? Yes, it's going to take time for him at the NHL level to figure it out because it's a small sample size. He played a little bit in the playoffs, but he only played 23 games last season, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. At times, I think his effort, he got a little bit snake bitten. He had a lot of hustle plays, a lot of great defensive plays, so I'm high on Lauko. Am I saying he's going to score like 60, 50 points? No, but I think 30, in the right situation is definitely possible. And as for the fourth line, they brought back Milan Lucic, and I made a video on this that didn't on this subject that didn't go over extremely well with some people, but I kind of stand by that. I think Lucic is an older guy, has lost a lot of his speed. But hey, he's a fourth line grinder at $1 million. Like, is it the worst deal in the NHL? No. It's just unfortunate they can't draft a guy to kind of fill that role. And Patrick Brown is a serviceable fourth line center. Now, kind of scrolling down because they brought in Boquist as well. I think Zaboril's, I think he's done. I don't think he'll make the team in this regard. Well, he'll probably be the seventh defenseman if they don't deal him, but I think he's just kind of is what he is. Guys that I would feel like we'd be remiss not to mention is Merkulov in Providence. He was really good last year for the Baby Bees. He's got a really good shot. He is a left-handed Ovechkin in the AHL. I'm not saying he's going to be an Ovechkin in the NHL, but he's got a really good shot. I think Merkulov is a guy that will challenge for this third-line role in the NHL this season. I think there's a bit more there. Fabian Lysell, he's going to be trying to make the camp. He's had a few interviews saying that he's really trying to make the big squad this year. And I think the ceiling on Lysell is very high. When you watched him play in the World Championships, when you watched him play in Providence, you saw some really good flashes of brilliance. I think he just needs a little bit more time to develop. And for me, why rush a guy to the NHL and destroy his confidence? Maybe get him a game or two, but let him completely flourish in the AHL. Let him have a very good, consistent season, and then just wait for the next year. I think Merkulov is more ready for the AHL compared to Lysell. Maybe I'm wrong, but just looking at how they played, going to Providence Bruins games, watching the footage, I think Merkulov would be more of a plug-and-play player. Am I saying he's going to be a dynamic goal scorer at the NHL level? I don't think so, but he'll give you some good secondary scoring, and that's what the Bruins are going to need on this team. They're going to need their second, third, and even fourth line to contribute offensively if they want to be anywhere near that realm of success of last season, which, I mean, isn't going to happen, but if they want to make a playoff run, that's what they need. Now, looking at the defense, you got Matt Grzelcyk, Charlie McAvoy. It was kind of weird in the postseason with the whole Grzelcyk thing. I think it was like a healthy scratch for one game. But they were a very good tandem last year. I like them as a pairing. And then you have Lindholm and Carlo. Carlo's a bigger guy. Lindholm's got some offensive ability. Lindholm has shown with that streak for that game early in the season when he played against Pittsburgh, showed the offensive capabilities that he had. That's the reason why we got him from Anaheim. You know, to me, Lindholm could be a number one on many teams, and having the defense that we do, that's the strength of this Bruins roster. The defense is extremely deep, extremely talented, and the top four, I think, go pretty much match up favorably against any other team in the NHL. Now, for their third D pairing, Derek Forbort and Shattenkirk. Now, some people complain about Forbort, and he's not great 5-on-5. He's can be a little bit of a liability. He's 31 years old. Now, $3 million for Forbort, that's an overpay. Absolutely agree. I think that cap is just ridiculous. He's going to be off the books next season. And in Shattenkirk, defensively, I mean, Shattenkirk gives you something on the offensive side, but as for a bottom pairing guy, I'm not extremely mad at it. Maybe you can kind of get a little bit of offensive contributions. Maybe the Bruins are looking at a system similar to the Carolina Hurricanes, where maybe the defensemen get a little bit more involved this season to kind of make up for the losses of Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. That's, you know, I'm not saying that's for sure going to happen, but bringing in with a guy with Shattenkirk, I think they're trying to generate more offense through their defense. And when you go into the goaltending, Linus Ullmark had a tremendous season, won a Vezina last season, the best statistical goalie in the NHL last year. Made some really fantastic saves. It was unfortunate he was dealing an injury in that first round. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, a bunch of what ifs, but he had some rough games. Can Ullmark, when healthy, can he replicate this type of season? And I'm not saying a 938, that's ridiculous. But if he can be around a 920 save percentage, maybe a 918 plus, that's what the Bruins need. They need Ullmark to at least be all-star level if they're going to be a playoff contender. And Jeremy Swayman, a one-year deal, $3.475 million. He had a good season as well. He's kind of up and down, but he's a young goaltender, only being 24. This is a big year for Swayman. In his first year with the Boston Bruins, he pushed Ullmark, and a lot of Bruins fans thought Swayman was the better goalie than Ullmark, and to be fair, yeah, in that first year Ullmark was here, Swayman, I thought, was better in totality compared to Ullmark. Ullmark just really kind of came into form last year. Can Swayman, I'm not saying he had a bad year last year, but can he really bounce back in the sense, can he kind of take that number one spot? Can he take that next step in his development and challenge Ullmark for that spot? I think that's a good thing. I think if you're not going to trade him, you're not going to get rid of one of your goaltenders, have them push each other. And the great thing about it is there's no toxicity. Seems like they really like each other, which is always good in that locker room. I think that can be a little bit underrated at times. If constantly infighting, it can be bad for the room. But I do think it was a mistake not dealing Ullmark. So, and Bruins fans, before you freak out at me, before you get crazy, Ullmark had the best year he'll ever have in his NHL career. It was a perfect system, perfect situation. I know Gibson was on the trade block. I think with Ullmark, you could at least get something. And if they're going to be smart, in my opinion, you kind of sign Swayman for the long term. Will Swayman ever have a season that Ullmark just had? I don't know. But do I think Swayman can be a quality NHL starter? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of talent there. A few guys I didn't really note, Ian Mitchell and Alec Regula, Mason Lohrei, he's a young guy in the AHL. The Regula and Mitchell were acquired through that trade for Taylor, trading away Taylor Hall to acquire from the Blackhawks. I'm not too sure if those two, what's going to happen. I think Zaboral will be kind of thrown out the door, maybe released or traded or something of that. Most likely traded, right? They don't want that cap hit against them. But to me, I think those three could challenge. Maybe, he's a big physical defender. He's young. Maybe he takes Forbort's spot, and he's a cheaper contract. And you find somebody to trade Forbort so you can open up some cap space. I think that would be the ideal situation. I'm not saying to bring him up too early, but I would rather have that third line D pair be cheaper. Forbort, we kind of know what he is. He can be a liability in some situations. And to me, $3 million for a bottom pairing defenseman is too much. And as for the goaltending situation, Bussy played really well in the NHL last year. He played really well. I'll actually even pop it up here. Because when I looked at his statistics, saw him play, I was kind of surprised that we didn't make a move. I was very surprised in that respect because I think the Bruins are always. I'll say this: the Bruins are really good in their goaltending situation. Really, really good. I'll share this right here. So with Bussy, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. You know, last season, 22 wins, 5 losses, 4 overtime losses, like a shutout, 2.40 goals against average, and a 924 save percentage. In both seasons, while the first year in the AHL was there's only 5 games, he's looked really good at the AHL level. Very, very good. I think he could be a serviceable backup right now. And I thought you could have gotten quite a bit there for Ullmark, but that's just kind of my opinion. Where do I think this team will finish? Now, with my co-host Fajardo, and he's a guy that I want to have on these preview videos, we're going to be doing separate videos on where we believe each division, where teams will kind of end up. The Bruins, it's a hard team for me to judge because there's so much things I don't know. Charlie Coyle, does he click? Does he able to be at least a viable top 6 option? Will Pavel Zacha take another step? He had 57 points last season. Can he maybe be a 70-point guy? We don't know. There's just a lot of question marks. So for me, I think if I'm going to have to make a decision, I think the defense is really good. I think the goaltending is really good, but they have some superstar talent up front with Pastrnak, and Marchand's a star at this point in his career. And DeBrusk, I think, is in that star level as well. Do I think they're good enough offensively? I don't think so. And due to that, I think they're a wild card team at best. I'm hoping they're proving me wrong. If Coyle and Zacha can flourish, absolutely. If Frederick can take another step, great. If JVR can kind of rewind time a little bit and kind of get into what he has done in the past. And if Lauko and other guys they call up play well, yeah, I think they could be maybe a 3 seed. But as of right now, just with the lack of center depth for me, I'm just putting them in the wild card at best. And I could see them missing the playoffs altogether just due to a lack of scoring. But I would like to know your opinion down below in the comment section. Where do you think the Boston Bruins will finish? How well do you think they'll play this season? Are you as worried as I am about their center depth? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit longer form. I'm going to be bringing a lot of this type of content into the channel. I'm going to obviously keep the edited stuff because that's fun to do. But I want to bring as much well-rounded hockey content as I possibly can. I'm Captain Paul. I'll see you in the next one.